Hello. Welcome to Age Out Loud Live. I am so excited today. First, let me say down at the bottom, margoaerosmith.com. If you want to know what I'm up to these days, go there. And I'm saying that right away because our guest today, Stella Fosse, has so many exciting things. And I want to make sure that I give her banners all of the see, there we go. That I give her banners all of the due that they should get. Stella is one of these people who I love so much, who I put under the category of old dogs with new tricks. Stella has a master's in biology. She worked in biotech for many, many years. And then upon retirement, or maybe before she's going to tell us the story. I don't know it, but she became a writer. She has written 2 books of short stories under the heading of The Pandemic Ball. Love these. They are about what happened in senior living, like independent and assisted living, behind closed doors when everybody was locked up for 2 years, and very interesting. She's written 2 full-length novels, one that I just devoured, called Charming Bastard. What is the name of that? Brilliant Charming Bastard. And he was all 3 things. Well, maybe not as charming as they thought at first. But that involves a lot of her scientific background. And there's a sequel coming up on that one that just needs to be reworked. And I've been bugging her to do it soon because I want to read it. And coming out in the fall, and she's going to tell you all about that, is A Vampire of a Certain Age. And there's going to be a lot coming from that. But I love both of those, love them all. She's also, by the way, written a book, Aphrodite's Pen, is that the name of it?
Mhm.
Where if you want to write erotica for old people, or anybody else, I guess, she'll teach you how to do it. She's just a wonderful person. And I know I promised you I would tell you what Stella Fosse and Jody Savage have in common. We will get to it, if not this week, next week. And you really want to stick around to find out. But Stella, take the stage. I'm so excited to have you here.
Well, thank you so much, Margot. I'm really appreciating being here with you and your audience. It's just fabulous. Yes, thanks for that great introduction. I was in biotech for many years, and what I did there was I wrote submissions for new products to the Food and Drug Administration. The longest of which was 32 volumes, and when stacked up, was exactly
Oh,
inches tall. So I did do a lot of writing in those years, but it wasn't what I wanted to be writing. So when I retired, I decided that I was going to write exactly what I felt like. And I have lots of ideas about what to write, and I hope I have lots of time to do it because I crank out about a book a year. But we'll see how many years I keep going with this. So yes, my first introduction to fiction writing was right around the time I retired. A friend of mine started a reader series at a bookstore in Oakland, and her reader series met once a month. She invited all her friends to come and who were writers to come and read there. It was called the Dirty Old Women Reader Series. And the idea was that women over 55 would write erotic stories and come and read them to an audience. So I thought, why not? And it turned out that she had a packed house every month for this event. A lot of the women there, and there were women and men, but a lot of the women were in their 30s, and they would come up to us after the reading and say, thank you so much for letting us know that this part of life continues after 40, because the message we get from the culture is that on your 40th birthday it's all over. Well, of course it's not. So that was a lot of fun, that experience. And then coming out of that, I decided to start a writing group with my friend Susan, who had started the reading series. And we invited a bunch of women to come and get together once a month and write and read to each other. We had prompts, we had snacks, we had a grand time. And that was called the Eldoratica Writing Group. And then I went to a conference. It was an art and writing conference It's something that another friend of mine hosts every year in the Bay Area. I was living in California then. And I happened to sit next to a woman. I didn't know that she worked for a publishing house. And I mentioned to her that I had this Eldoratica writing group, and I was thinking of writing a book about how to start a group like that and about writing erotica after midlife. And she looked at me and said, I work for North Atlantic Books, and we would like to publish that book. So that was great because, I hear all these stories about people who have to put in submission after submission to publishers. And I never even did that. I just had an open invitation to send the manuscript. So that's where my first book came from. That was Aphrodite's Pen, The Power of Writing Erotica After Midlife. And that came out in 2019 from North Books. So where to go from there? Well, next thing we knew, there was a pandemic. We were all sitting at home. A friend of mine called me up who lives in a senior community and said her community was so locked down that if they left and they didn't come back with a notice from a doctor appointment, they wouldn't be let back in. And this is a community where you had to pay big bucks to buy in, and yet they had this requirement. And my friend said to me, what is this going to do to my dating life? That was her concern. How am I going to date if I can't get back in without a doctor's note? Well, I suppose she could have dated a doctor. But my other thought about this was, wouldn't that be a great premise for stories? So I started writing stories about how women in that situation could still have a love life. And it involved time travelers and friendly vampires and a magical frog and, all kinds of, alternate universes. It was a very fun thing to write. So that kept me occupied during the pandemic.
Well, I got to ask you this.
Yeah.
Because when I was reading it, you weren't there with me, so now I'm going to ask you.
All right.
The frog was on the window, I believe.
Yeah.
Story. So the frog has some specific significance.
Yes.
Or was it just a fun thing to do, or was there something about that frog that I missed?
Okay. So this is the book. Name of that book is The Erotic Pandemic Ball, and it ends with a big party when everybody gets vaccinated. So the significance of the frog was that the frog was eavesdropping on all these situations, and that's where the stories came from.
Oh, okay.
So the frog was actually in a sense, the narrator of the book.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah. And then, of course, at the end, the frog, gets to kiss somebody and turn them into a frog. So that the frog could live happily ever after.
That was pretty cool.
So that was that book. And I don't know if your audience is going to be familiar with NaNoWriMo, which is that's short for National Novel Writing Month. But that's a really fun event that happens every November. It's run by an organization in San Francisco, but it's become an international event online. And what you do is you get onto their website and you pledge on the 1st of November that you're going to write 50,000 words in the month of November. So if you do this, you end up with a first draft of a novel. So I have in the last few years, I've generated 3 first drafts. I generated the first draft of Brilliant Charming Bastard, which I then revised and have, of course, published. I wrote the sequel, the first draft of the sequel to Brilliant Charming Bastard, which is called The Palace of Wisdom. And that's the one, Margot, that you're suggesting that I get back to and finish up. And then I wrote the first draft of Vampires of a Certain Age, which is now coming out in September.
So being in that group really paid off, by the way.
Sorry?
Being in that group really paid off for anybody that's at all interested, or if you know somebody. Now, what's the website to that group, by the way?
It's NaNoWriMo. It's NaNoWriMo. So that's It's short for National Novel Writing Month. And
Oh, okay.
it's free, and they have all kinds of support for writers. It's a fabulous organization.
Right
And
there, folks, in the corner is NaNoWriMo.com. If
Mhm.
you're interested, and I'm getting interested because I have this little mystery book,
Oh, good.
and yeah, but if you know of anybody, if any of your friends have ever thought about writing anything, have them go there. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So your first book was after the short stories, which by the way, pick up. They're wonderful.
Thank
Uh,
you.
on Amazon. Brilliant, Charming Bastards. Getting Rich is the Best Revenge. Tell
Yes.
us about that one.
So that book is about three women scientists in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is where I did the bulk of my biotech work. So these three women are in their 60s, and they're all dating a man they met online. And then they find out about each other that they're all dating the same guy. And not only that, this man, who is sort of a dilettante scientist himself, is stealing their ideas, and he wants to make money on their ideas. He's using them as unpaid consultants in addition to lying to them about the status of the relationship. So these women find out about each other, and instead of becoming jealous or envious of one another, they decide to beat him at his own game and get together to start their own company. So that's the premise of that one. So that was really fun to write. I really got a kick out of that. People seem to enjoy reading it, which is wonderful.
Well,
I think you
what I
did.
oh oh yes, my goodness, that's why I can't wait for this second one to come out. What I really loved about it was a couple of things that were different. Well, one was these three women when they find out about him, they not only get together, but they overcome this in a way. And what I kind of liked was he gets his in the end, but they really didn't do it to him because they didn't have to. What they did, I mean, they would have been fine if he just survived because they were, what is it? The best revenge is success or wealth or something is the best.
Getting rich.
Getting rich is the best revenge. And they did. While saving the world, because all of your female characters save the world, basically. But they really didn't do revenge on him. He kind of did it on himself. And his buddy kind of saw the light. And it wasn't like he wasn't afraid of them. He just like, oh yeah, he was a jerk and these women are cool. I loved it. I'm sorry, maybe I said too much, but I loved it.
No, I think it's great that you're so enthused about it. I really appreciate that. And I hope other folks will check it out too.
And that right now, by the way, folks, if you just go to Amazon, under books, you can put in the name of the article, the name of the book, but if you want to, you can just put in the name Stella Fosse and it will come up.
You'll see all my books.
Yeah. And you can get it on Kindle or paperback. Is it in hardback?
No, but you can also, if you look on my website, there's also a way to order it so that it comes to your local bookstore, and the bookstore gets the profit for it. So
think some more about that. I was not aware of that. And not only does the bookstore get the credit for it, but the bookstore finds out about you.
Well, that's true too. That's a very nice thing. Yeah.
You can how do you do that? They go to your website.
Yeah, they go to the
car, and
if they go, there's a tab that says books at the top of the website. And if you click on that tab and then you scroll down to Brilliant, Charming Bastard, on the right side, there's a place that you can click to order the book, and it gives you various options. And one of those is to order it in such a way that it goes to your local bookstore. You can also, of course, walk into your bookstore and order it. And then it will also, again, as you said, Margot, it'll help the bookstore be aware of Brilliant Bastard. So
you can also walk into the bookstore and say, why don't you have this book? This is this book. What's the matter with you that you don't have this book?
Yeah,
Make them yes. Order 5 of them because they'll fly off the shelves.
That's right. That's right. So that's the Bastard book, which was totally fun. And then so then I read this book called, I don't know if you know this book, Margot, but I think you'd love it. It's called Killers of a Certain Age.
I've heard of it and I must get it.
You should. It's great. It's about these three women who are assassins, and when they retire from the organization they've been working for their whole career, the organization gives them a cruise as a retirement present. But it turns out that the organization has sent a much younger assassin to assassinate them, so they won't talk about all the work that they did.
Right.
So you can imagine how that plays out. And it's very fun. There's a lot about them putting on gray wigs so that they can be invisible and nobody will notice them, and then they can go bump people off. I mean, it's great. So I thought, what can I do? Instead of women of a certain age, which is, sounds sort of like somebody's frail, Killers of a Certain Age plays on that, turns that over. And I love counter tropes. I love things that turn over our expectations. And I thought, well, what about a vampire? What about vampires of a certain age? That would flip things on their head too, wouldn't it? And so I decided to write a book about a very powerful lesbian. This is one of my daughters said, you should make this person a lesbian. I said, okay. So very powerful woman who's a lesbian vampire, and how even though she's 500 years old, she still is interested in romance and, has all kinds of adventures.
And just like in Charming Bastard, they're vampires, but they're actually saving the world. They're making it so that their kind can live and thrive, but they're saving the world while they're doing it.
Well, yeah, they have this whole thing about, so I don't want to give too much away about the book, but Marion, who's the original main character and has a love interest during the story, but Marion decides at one point that she's going to buy a blood bank because, of course, she's been investing money for 500 years.
They get rich.
She's loaded. Yes. And so she buys a blood bank with the goal of providing ethically sourced blood to vampires of the Midwest, because she's a Chicago blood bank. So yes, they do various things to try to make the world a better place, including, how do we make sure vampires get fed without hurting anybody? So yeah.
And other things, by the way, to help people.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Not now.
But, we don't want to tell everything about the book.
We don't tell everything, but it's just so much fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just getting a big kick out of writing, and I also teach women and men also how to write our vivid stories, because it seems really important to me that we push back on the stereotypes about older people and write stories about how vivid our lives are. And so I think every time any of us writes a story, we are helping to move that needle, helping to change the narrative in a fun way. So it's a win-win to me. So
yeah.
That's my goal. Use creativity to improve the world.
The idea, I mean, I'm all in favor of people like writing memoirs and histories and all of this, but the idea of creating this world basically out of nothing, three women did not exist, and you just created them. I was honored, very honored, that you asked me to be a beta reader for Vampires of a Certain Age. And it was so much fun because, first place, I've read it now, although I understand, because you had several people read it. And like, for instance, there was one thing that I caught where somebody was saying something that somebody else should have been saying.
Right. Thank you.
When you're writing something like that, just how difficult it is to keep it all straight. And I had no idea how people managed to do it, but now I do, since you so graciously invited me to be part of that. But it's really quite complicated. It's not that people should say, "Oh, I can't do that. It's too hard," because there's ways of doing it. But it's amazing when you just, out of nothing, you just create these two worlds with these women, real women in San Francisco, and then the vampires, and it's just wonderful.
Well, thank you. It's a lot of fun. And one of the things I talk about when I teach classes is the concept of autofiction, which is where you take different aspects of your life, because at this point in life, we all have these long, complicated histories. We've known so many people. We've been in so many different situations. We've lived or worked or visited so many different places that if you take things and mix and match them, you can create something that's new and different. And lots of times there's a synergy between all these different components of our lives. So you could take a person you knew when you were in your 40s and put them in a town where you lived when you were in your 60s, and in a situation or in a conflict that comes out of your 30s. And all of a sudden, you have a brand new story that isn't that's fiction, but yet it builds on all this great material that we've been collecting without knowing it all our lives. So I think this is a great part of life, to be creative.
Tell us some more. I mean, I'm assuming if somebody wants to find out about taking one of your courses, are they online or does somebody have to be sitting in front of you to take?
Okay. So right now, on my website, there are two, which is right there. There are two self-paced writing workshops that you can access, that are free, that you can access at any time, and you'll be sent a series of emails explaining what to do each day to build a story. So those are available for anybody at any time. You can get on the Stella Fosse website, look under courses, and you should see two different courses. I have been teaching for some time with an organization that unfortunately closed its doors last Friday. It was an online organization for people over 65, and was a great source of support for people all over the country, especially folks who have more limited mobility and aren't getting out into the world. And it's actually a really sad thing that organization has closed. So I'm going to be setting up to teach more courses through my website online, because I really enjoyed doing that and want to keep doing it. Years ago, I used to teach erotica workshops when I was living in the Bay Area, but I haven't done that for a while. But anyway, I have a variety of ideas about classes, everything from writing romance um, to creative editing, and of course, I could teach on writing erotica as well. So I'm going to be putting that up there for now. There are what you'll find on the website is the two self-paced email courses, but there is going to be more soon, more options for folks to take courses online.
Wonderful. That's so everybody's please. Yeah, it just sounds like fun. You know what? And even if you think you're just doing it, and it would be worthwhile, I'm guessing, if you do it and never show it to another person, just the idea that you are expressing yourself this way.
Yeah. It's very true, because one of the things that research is showing, and Margot, you and I have talked before about Becca Levy at Yale and her research on how we deal with our own internalized ageism, and for us who are women, our own internalized gendered ageism. And it really can affect us negatively if we have built-in biases about ourselves. And how can we avoid picking those up? We live in a culture that is extremely ageist, and we have been ever since we were little girls watching Disney cartoons where the princesses were beautiful and passive, and the older women were assertive and evil.
With warts on their noses.
Yeah.
Because of course you get ugly when you get old.
Yeah, and just they're the villains. Most of the Disney villains are older women, and so of course how could we help but internalize all that? So
during a lot of the witch trials, both in Europe and here, one of the things that women were accused of, basically, I mean, probably not in these words, was you're old and you're still around, so you must be a witch. I mean, it's been hard, but we're changing things.
We are, and I do think that when we write, to your point about it being valuable, even if you never show it to anybody, to when we write our stories, we and write about the positives and write about the vivid aspects of our lives, we are pushing back first and foremost on our own internal ageism through creativity. So yes, even if you never show it to another soul, it's a valuable thing to do. If you start sharing it with your friends, if you decide to read it out loud in public, if you decide to publish, then that takes it to another level where you're actually pushing back on the social prejudices. But again, you don't have to go to that point for it to be valuable. If you write it and you enjoy it and you're capturing the positives, the vivid aspects of your own life for yourself, that's valuable right away.
Exactly. And frankly, to put it away and maybe someday your granddaughters will read it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can do that in a memoir
Mm-hmm.
type, but to do it in fiction is also very possible. And it's just that's how you live forever.
That's right.
Yeah, because books are always around. They'll always be around.
That's very true. And speaking of memoir, I want to mention another valuable organization that's available to people. Many of their services and activities are available without cost, and that's the National Association of Memoir Writers.
And do you have the website for that?
I think it's, let me see, I think it's namw.org.
MANW.
N as in Nancy,
Yeah.
A, so National Association, and then M for
Yeah.
memoir,
Uh-huh.
and then W for writers. Let's see. Oh, yes, it's org. It's N as in Nancy,
Okay.
A, M as in Mary, W as in William, .org. There, you've got it. That's it.
That sounds wonderful. You know what? Everybody should be doing that.
Yeah.
When my dad was 91 years old, you remember those little flip cameras, which were really good, by the way. I sat him down. We did 15 videos about when he and my mother bought their first weekly newspaper in a little town in Iowa. I was 6 months old. And they are such treasures.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, Dad was like, "Oh, I've got nothing to say," and I could barely get. This was back in the days when YouTube you could only do 3-4 minute videos; they wouldn't take anything else.
Yeah.
And after a couple of videos, I'm like, "Dad, we got to stop now. We'll do another one." Because when he started, he didn't have anything to say, but once he started, he had to, and not only is it wonderful for my family, but it's an amazing history that everybody should know. I mean, the history of small town newspapers is pretty amazing as they're dying off. But so yes, people, whether you write it or video it, please do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And my friend Linda Joy Myers, who runs the National Association of Memoir Writers, has written several memoirs, and now I'm not sure how old she is, but she's probably in her 70s, and has just published her debut novel, The Forger of Marseille. And so, this is not about, we don't have to stop doing new things just because we hit a certain point in life. It's important that we keep exploring and doing all kinds of new things, and especially new creative things.
And as Becca Levy, PhD, has found through a lot of research, that it actually can stave off all of these things we're afraid of.
Yeah.
It actually keeps our minds from getting old and senile or whatever it is we're afraid of that we're sure happening, that this kind of activity really can make it not happen. I mean, it's been proven scientifically. This isn't just it'd be nice kind of stuff.
Oh, no, she has lots of evidence showing that not only does this kind of creativity and doing interesting things and improving our attitudes about aging, not only does it extend our healthful life, it extends lifespan itself by an average of 7.5 years. So
7.5 good years, not just 7.5 good years. So, all right, what everybody's going to do now is either go to Amazon.com and order. There's 4 books already you can order, and Vampires of a Certain Age is coming out. When is it coming out?
September 15th.
Whoa, you get ready to get busy and finish that up. Okay, I'll get you off.
Yeah.
So either go to Amazon and order these books, go to your bookstore. That actually is a great idea, and ask them to order them. They can get them pretty quickly these days.
Mhm.
And it will help your bookstore be aware of Stella and what she's doing.
Thank you.
So that'll help. And just enjoy her books, because they really are so much fun, and they just make you feel wonderful about being a woman and wonderful about being an older woman.
That's so lovely to hear. Thank you, Margot.
Okay, well, now I have decided I'm going to wait until next week to let everybody in on what Stella, Fosse, and Jody Savage have in common. It's going to be a big secret. But I'm going to do it next week. But you're going to love next week too. Next week could actually help save lives. I mean, that sounds overly dramatic, but knowing about these kinds of things, and we're building an army around the kinds of things we're going to be talking about next week. So, kind of on the same theme as this week, but more serious. But again, that's partially what these 2 women have in common with each other. Stella, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for writing these books, because I love them.
Thank you so much. And thank you for being a beta reader.
Yes, thank you for asking me. That was such a
thing to be a beta reader.
Huh?
Fabulous service to be a beta reader. Thank you.
It is, and it was such a thrill. It's like I'm part of it. I mean, I very little part of it, but I'm part of it. It's just fun. Okay, guys. Well, we will see you next week when we will have Jody Savage, and do be there next week for Jody Savage. Okay? See you guys. Bye, Stella.
Bye. Thanks so much.